Good evening again to everybody. Nice to see many of you here. It's a joy for us to always come and be with our Pune family, of course. We know many of you, in case you don't know us yet. I'm Shamini, this is Baraquiel. We used to live in Pune a few months ago. Now we live in Mumbai, but everything is virtual, so we know many of you. We have the pleasure to know many of you, and we hope to know more of you if we haven't met yet. And so today's Gita, Baraquiel and I always take the opportunity, if we can, to squeeze in a song of Swami Kriyananda and share that with you. So we chose a song today, one that many of you may know. So we invite you to sing along. And we like to share with you. It goes very much with the theme of today's satsang.
Which is the song?
The song is Walk Like a Man.
Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone, follow your dreams, though it lead to worlds unknown. Life's but a shadow, once our dreams have flown. What if men cry, your dream is not our own? Your soul knows the answer. Go on alone. Give life your heart, bless every soul's your own. Make rich the soil, but once the seed is sown, seek freedom, don't linger. Go on alone. Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone. Go on alone. Go on alone. What song, Shamini?
That was high. Thank God we lowered it. So we like to share the music, but we also like to cheat a little and lower the notes so that all of us can sing together. But that's a beautiful song of Swamiji, and thank you, Moshimi, for putting the words in the chat in case you would like to tune into those words. So today's verse from the Gita that we picked up is from chapter 13, verse 22. The Supreme Spirit, manifested in each body as the soul, is the detached witness. It is through man's conscience, the counselor, who, though accepting all, offers guidance if asked. The soul is the sustainer, the one who experiences without reacting with feelings of either pleasure or pain, the great Lord and Supreme Self. So, the Supreme Spirit is manifested in the body, in all of us, as the soul. It's the detached witness that is also the counselor who, accepting everything, offers guidance if asked. So just beautiful words, isn't it, from Krishna? It's like a lot of points right there for us to keep in mind. And essentially, what we want to do and what we want to keep in mind is to connect, get back into the soul, get back into that connection with spirit inside us, isn't it? That's what we're all doing here. That's what we're all trying to do through meditation and through our sadhana daily, is try to stay in that true experience, that soul nature, rather than in all the ups and downs of pleasure and pain and sorrow and misery, which we've just no more for me. I don't want that anymore. And, I was thinking that's why one of the favorite kind of topics of discussion among devotees, often it'll be, if we meet one another, often our first questions to each other will be, so how did you find these teachings? Or how did you come to the path? How did you find Yogananda? And every single story, this has been all of our experience, I'm sure yours too, every single story is always so inspiring. And why is that? Is just in a way, a lot of what Krishna is saying here is finally the devotee came into that connection with the spirit inside and allowed the soul, something inside, to guide them. No more just ruled by kind of bashing about in life, but something inside said, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Wait a minute, there's got to be more to life. Wait a minute, there's got to be some more answers. And when we listen, then we start getting the answers. And so if asked, the soul is always ready to guide. The soul is always waiting to guide us. And it's very important for us as devotees then to remember that. Remember that time when we came on the path. Remember what motivated us, all the pain and struggle and everything that motivated us to come to this point, to come to these teachings, because that was our true self speaking. That was God in us speaking. And to kind of stay in touch with that feeling, never lose that feeling as devotees on the path. Why did I come first? What was that prompted in me? What was that whisper that I heard, I listened to inside? And also, I want to keep asking. I want to keep asking for that guidance from that true potential inside of me. I don't want to do it anymore on my own. I don't want to get bumped around anymore. There is this something inside me that is going to answer. It's going to tell me, should I go left? Should I go right? If I ask, if I bother to ask. And in a way, we can also see this very much, and this is something we speak about a lot. This is very much the guru-disciple relationship. And Yogananda ji once said to a person, I believe this was Swamiji, once said to a person who asked, the person was asking Swamiji, I've been praying and praying to Master, I don't know whether I should take this decision or this decision. And Swamiji's reply to the person was, take whichever direction. Master is just pleased that you have bothered to ask. And that's very much this Gita verse, isn't it? Also, he's always waiting to guide us. And sometimes, honestly, it really doesn't matter what we do, because then as long as we have bothered to ask, we at least have the guidance, the grace, the support, which is such a big part of the spiritual path. And in order to stay connected to that soul potential, that center in us. So today, it was a really fun experience. We had gone to a devotee's house here. We were just coming back in the auto. And at one point, our auto wala kind of stopped and we were just chatting. So you don't really pay attention, to what's happening around. And the auto driver stopped because in front of us, these two autos had they hadn't crashed, but one had gone like this, another had come like this, and they almost bumped or whatever. I don't know what happened. But the front auto guy got out and was promptly there, ready to fight with this back auto guy who had almost bumped into him. And was getting all, pumped up. And it's just for a devotee, for all of us here, I'm sure, to see that kind of violence come out is quite, it can be quite jarring even, because it's not something we experience on a day-to-day level. And these guys that guy was really about to give it to this guy. He didn't, luckily. And I think a few people came and intervened and, they were just kind of standing there calmly. But it was just interesting. It was all of 30 seconds, maybe, this experience. And our auto guy was also like, what nonsense is all this? And he just backed away and, got out of there as quickly as possible. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I was just thinking later on, it's interesting because in a sense, you take it as this, what Krishna is saying, be in the soul, that's the observer. That's the one who's watching all of this that's happening, and we sitting in this auto here watching this show going on there, which was getting quite entertaining at some point. It could easily have been an opportunity to get into it and be all like, oh no, and and kind of get into the movie, so to say. But interestingly, it was for us, it's just like a quick moment of passing. You just get to like kind of om them mentally, say om, get this over with, keep moving, and then keep going. And in a sense, that's what we need to do on the path. We need to understand very much how to become observers. Because yes, these things happen constantly. Life is always trying to engage us in all this drama, in all these excitements of the heart and restlessness and anger and frustration. It's always trying to engage us. But if we can just stay a little detached, even a little bit, we don't have to be totally detached, just a little bit. Be the observer and just watch the show sometimes. Let it just unfold. The way to do it, we have all the techniques, we have all the practices, the sadhana. But just learning to practice this, we'd be surprised, like, hey, I didn't react in that situation. Hey, my heart didn't get activated or restless in that. Sometimes we can be very excited about just that. I was able to observe this situation today. And I'll just end on this. There's one of our acharyas, long-term practitioner. She tells us this story of how she was giving a public talk. She represents Ananda very much. She's giving a public talk on stage. And at one point, she fell off her chair. Or she fell off the stage, or she fell off her chair. I don't remember which. Both of them. The chair and her fell off the stage. And she tells us this, and all of us are going, oh my God, I hope you didn't get hurt. And that must have been a terrible thing. And we're getting all into the story here. And her next sentence is, but the most interesting thing was I got right up and I started speaking again. And I continued my talk. And her point was, for her, it was a great victory, a great surprise that even though this drastic thing happened and she fell off the stage, she was able to just come right back to her center and give a perfectly amazing discourse to this entire audience who was probably stunned and just like shaken. But she wasn't shaken. And she said, that's what I realized that the practice of Kriya Yoga has given me, that ability to just be the observer. Even in the moment when I'm falling, I'm able to stand back up and stay right here in my center. And for all of us to remember, a lot of the path is just that, is coming right back, getting up again and back to our center, back to being observers. So I'll invite Baraquiel now.
Thank you, Shamini, for that wonderful sharing. I love how it says here as a reminder for all of us, the Supreme Spirit manifested in each body as the soul. That the Supreme, that God Himself or herself or whatever you want to call it, is manifested in all of us as the soul. That God took that individual form as each one of us, through our souls. And then our souls created the body and the different bodies and all those things that we don't need to get into. But just to have that thought that, God is really, we are made of the same substance, or that thing that we are so desperately looking for is really already us. We are already that, and we are nothing else. And sometimes I like to think that, we complain, or I complain that, God made this terrible mistake for bringing us here into Maya. And even if He's enjoying, why even bother doing that? Because it makes no sense. He could enjoy Himself no matter what. But to think that because God is in us, we were also part of that, creating that plan of the whole Maya and all that. So we are as much to blame as God, because God is in us, manifested through us. But to living in that soul awareness more and more is very, very important. And as he says here, it is the soul that experiences. And something that I also like to try to remember as much as possible, that as Swamiji would tell us, the moment we are able to feel love, perhaps through the form of kindness, perhaps through the form of sympathy, empathy, that we are able to share, or whenever we feel happiness, whenever we are able to share happiness, and or we feeling peace or calmness or any of these things, to that degree, we are manifesting the divine, because those things come only from the divine, and they can, we can become channels of that, but it is only as much as we open ourselves to being channels that those things will flow through us, because we cannot create them. It's impossible for us to create those things. All that we can do is channel them. And where do we channel them from? Is not so much that this power comes over us and we manifest it like this. This comes from within, because God is already within us. All these things, that's, I think, one of the selling points that we do in our meditation classes, that every one of these things are already within us, and we just have to remove all those, all the mud from the gold, as we often say, so that we can see all these qualities spring forward. And the more that we live in that soul awareness, the more naturally these things will manifest themselves. As Shamini was saying, through our meditation and through our right living, the more we'll be able to channel that soul awareness in the form of these wonderful qualities. And the beautiful thing is that at some point, I think everyone has found that it's not that you have so much to try to do it. At the beginning, you had to, I need to try to be kind, I need to try to be patient, I need to try to remain even-minded and all these things. At some point, these things are becoming natural. That sometimes you need to force yourself perhaps to, be a little more concerned, or, or things like that, or to show a little reaction so people don't think you're indifferent or whatever it may be. That they come much more natural from within all of us. At the beginning, we had to strive very hard to try, but then the more we meditate, the more we do right living, the more these things really come natural. We still have to obviously do our best, because we will never be perfect until we are perfect, and God will find some ways to test us and to see if are we really kind, are we really patient, are we really loving or not. But still, and in those ways, I cannot yet say, like Master said, that meditation becomes easier and easier and easier the more you go on. That's not been my experience so far as much, although yes, certain aspects do become easier. But certainly manifesting some of these qualities has become easier and easier and easier, which already is a step forward, if nothing else. Now I hope the other part will also come quickly, but whatever God wants in His own time. Now, something beautiful that this song that we sang, Walk Like a Man, there is Swamiji got inspired partly by that a saying of Swami Sri Yukteswar, that went something on the lines that the boat of self-realization is coming. Who will go? Who will go? If no one goes, I will go alone. And just to have that visualization, I don't know, if you can take a moment and just visualize that the God is coming to you, the boat of self-realization is coming to you, and you look left and right, and you see nobody's coming, everybody's busy, or perhaps there's even no one around. Will you have the courage? Will you have the strength to go on alone and take on that journey, hand in hand with the Guru, of course? But do you have the courage to go on alone and go all the way till you reach the goal? Well, I think most people who are here, we all got on the boat to some degree or the other. But we have to remember that until we reach the other shore, we are not done. So the more we have to keep on practicing, keep on refining our attunement, refining our technique, refining our love, our kindness, and all these things, until finally it all becomes so natural that all these negative qualities stop bothering us, all these things from other people really don't touch us anymore, because we are more centered in the self, in the soul. And when you do that, you just perceive that quality in other people more as well, that you don't focus so much in their negative but more in their positives. So another thing that, to conclude, that's something we have to keep in mind, that the more we focus on the good in other people, in the good in other people, the more we see them in the light, the more we also will be also uplifted in the light. And those are the ways that, we can let the soul reign supreme, the soul take more charge of the ego, until finally the ego can dissolve itself and fully offer itself into that soul awareness. And yes, then we'll be done with the boat journey to the other shore, where our gurus are waiting for us.